Hello, my lovely. You got to where you are by flying the plane while you were building it. You may have a VA or a small team, but you still feel invisible and have this small voice way down in the back of your mind that says, who the fuck do you think you are to do blank? You also know that the women changing the effing world have never been the ones who are busy trying to fit in. So if you're listening to this podcast, it's because some part of you already knows that what got you to this point is not going to get you to where you're going next. You also may be raw dogging accidental success, trying to force your technicolor brain into strategies built for people who don't have wiring like yours. And you are so done building a business where you abandon yourself and your nervous system in the fucking process. You are allowed to stay a feral woman and run a calm business. And maybe for the first time since ADHD came onto your radar or your diagnosis, you are finally starting to realize that who you are was not the thing standing in your way of business growth. The problem has been strategies that came from the normie business coaching industry instead of how your brain works. You need a simplified business plan, the self-trust to execute it, and to get the support of a coach who gets your brain the nuance of business growth for ADHD humans and how it all marries together. Hi. That's me. You need to stop rebuilding your entire offer suite every 6 months because you're secretly terrified you can't keep repeating or sustain your current revenue. You do not need to become quieter, smaller, more polished, less emotional, less ambitious, less intense, less weird, more digestible to be successful. You need to trust yourself enough to build differently because your unrepeatable stack of genius is how you stand out in a fucking sea of sameness. And to be clear, your ADHD ass, hyper-focusing, pattern recognizing, deeply feeling, and never stop thinking brain is your unfair fucking advantage. If this intro has you nodding along, good. That means you found your people. Welcome to my cult. We have stickers. One final thing. Becoming visible and growing sustainably means no more Miss People Pleaser, no more hiding your Ferrari brain, no more dimming down jack shit. And if you've ever been told to tone it down as a woman with late diagnosed ADHD, it is time to tone your shit all the way the fuck back up to an 11. Because that, my sweet baby angel, is how you create unstoppable momentum in your business, gain new clients, visibility, and do whatever the fuck you put your mind to. You are not born to be forgettable. And as one of my favorite quotes says, well-behaved women rarely make history, and nothing about you or me is well-behaved, at least not anymore. In today's episode, I am talking directly to the women who are newly diagnosed, newly suspecting, in the middle of getting assessed for ADHD or ADHD, which is autism and ADHD combo. If it's coming onto your radar, or if you were diagnosed before and you're deciding you wanted to take supporting your brain a little more seriously, this is for you. Chances are that some of these emotions have already been living in your body. And if not, they may come out at some point, whether you have said it out loud or not. So I'll give you a little insight into me. I had rage at the medical community for missing this, rage at parents, teachers, anyone who should have caught this and did not, feeling like, why didn't anybody else see this, including myself? There was sadness, lost potential. I could have been better the whole time. I could have done this. I could have done that. Why didn't I just figure this out sooner? Again, sadness, but turning it at you like it's your fault or outside somebody else's fault. There's being hard on yourself. Like there's this grief for this version of you that could have existed if you would have known sooner. There may be shame about masking, about things you hid, about the messes or missed deadlines. There's embarrassment. Looking back at moments through a different lens can feel embarrassing. There's anger at possibly yourself for all of the years you spent on all of these productivity hacks and self-help books and diets and raking yourself over the coals with things that were not going to fucking work for your brain anyway. And how could you possibly know that? There's isolation, even when you are in a room full of people. There's identity disorientation, like who the fuck am I even now? I know that was a big one for me. resentment towards people who get diagnosed easily, or if they're men or boys and they just walked in and out and it took you 2 years to get your diagnosis. There's exhaustion, like the bone deep kind of tired from holding it all together so long. And add into that regression. That is when the masks start coming off and suddenly things that felt easy to you before feel like you're fucking climbing the tallest mountain you've ever climbed, like straight up 90 degrees, right? It is temporary, but it does not feel that way possibly to you right now. There's distrust, especially of professionals after being dismissed possibly over and over again. And last but not least, there's fear of being seen differently if people know, or now that people know. All of that is very real and very valid, and you don't want to rush past any of that. But I'm here from the future to tell you that there's the other side of it. The other side has hope, joy, relief, excitement for what's to come, finally understanding yourself, finally building self-confidence that's real, finally building self-trust. And eventually that will all add up to you loving yourself again, or maybe for the first time ever in your life, because you've always known you were a fucking badass and resilient. You've never given up on yourself. You've always known that you bounce back no matter what. And that's been your nature, but not why. And you've always gone for it, always gone for it. But there's always been this little voice underneath it telling you all the things you can't do. You know it's lying, but it's just there and it won't shut up. Now you know why. And now that you know why, when you have that knowledge, it literally makes you one of the most dangerous women in the fucking room. Before we go all the way into this episode, if you want to become an insider in my universe, join my newsletter, The Frequency. It is specifically designed for female founders with late diagnosed ADHD. Link is in the show notes. And if you're ready to invest and want to see what working with me looks like, book your free 30-minute call with me. I won't be coaching you on the call. We look at your business, see where you're at, what are the ADHD sticking points for your brain, and then we go from there. The link for that is in the show notes as well. All right, let's get into it. Welcome back to the ADHD Entrepreneu, the podcast for feral female founders with late diagnosed ADHD who refuse to play by the fucking rules. That is you. That is me. Now that you're listening, you're part of my cult, and we have stickers. So you're going to stick around. I'm not kidding. We do actually have stickers. I'm Karrie. I am the chief weirdo of Karrie Out Loud, and I'm living proof that you get to stay a feral woman and still run a calm fucking business, because those two things are not mutually exclusive. One quick favor before we get into it. If this podcast helps you in any way, shape, or form, go leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. I read them. And every month, one of you who leaves a review gets a free Instagram audit from me, where I look at your messaging, your bio, your content, generally to see where you may have any disconnects. So go leave that rating and review, screenshot it, and tag me in your stories, or shoot me a DM with that, and I will enter you for this month. I want to speak to those of you listening who are late diagnosed or self-identified, so that whatever you're feeling right now, you know is natural. That big ass feelings come with this process for like 99% of us. And I am making that 99% number up because for me, it's been 99%. Out of every single woman that I've talked to who was diagnosed later in life with ADHD that I have personally spoken to, one said they didn't have any conflicting feelings. They felt relief and moved on. One. So that means if you are feeling any kind of way, you're not alone by a long shot. Please understand. Women in adulthood are getting diagnosed at a record pace right now, and many of us are entrepreneurs because it's our design. We are creatives of all kinds. We're strategists, dot connectors, innovators, visionaries, all of these things. We have big, huge dreams, goals, and we know that we can hit them. But right now, you're probably in that cloudy, swirly brain part. I know I was there. I was there for about 4 months. I also know that you're a badass for getting here without knowing. And now that you do, it's on like Donkey Kong. Like, you may have some really heavy feelings, but this is you from the future speaking. You're going to feel those feelings, keep feeling them, but understand that you get to start with a clean slate now and take the business that you have and make it friendly to your brain. And if you could possibly imagine what happens to your business when you make it ADHD friendly, which means simplifying it. And I help you do that without losing revenue. And in fact, you finally start seeing growth and getting new leads and deepening your self-trust by practicing. I know you can do whatever the fuck you put your mind to, more than you can even imagine at this moment. When I got my diagnosis, and I've talked about this a lot recently, but on March 6th, 2023, I asked for the assessment. But on the day of my diagnosis, I had some different emotions than I had been expecting. And so, what I don't want is any woman, any female founder, anybody who is building a business who's diagnosed while running their business to think that they're going to feel one way or another way. You're going to feel the way you're going to feel, and all of that's okay. I was beyond relieved. I even said out loud, I fucking knew it. I slammed my fist on the desk. And the doctor doing my assessment laughed. It wasn't the one who didn't let me get my assessment for over a year. This was the one he used the terms we and us. So I think he was also neurodivergent, but I felt at ease with him the whole time. And that's why I feel more comfortable with my people. I think we all do. And it's not that anybody else is bad or wrong. It's just we understand some of our own idiosyncrasies with other people, and it doesn't bother us the way it might bother other people. Over the next few months, the emotions, some of the ones that I described in the beginning, are the ones that came. It was that fear and relief and hope and rage, and then, happy that I could finally see into this black box. I didn't know what was in there, and that all of the feelings are valid, that I could have opposing feelings at one time, that some days I felt numb and very disoriented. It took me a little time to come out of that. It didn't make me any less of a bad bitch. I needed time to figure out who I was now that I had this very pivotal piece of information for me. Not everybody cares about it like I did. I get this. But for those of you listening who are like, oh my God, thank the universe, thank whatever, that somebody's saying this, so that this isn't something that's just happening in you. There's a lot of uncertainty, and it can leave you feeling untethered or crying at the drop of a hat for what feels like no reason. There is a reason. Let the tears flow, and let the things you need to process or grieve or whatever emotions are, let them be there. One of the things we do best is run away from emotions and hide from them. And I'm telling you, when you walk through them, you stop going around them 100 times. You go through them. I would not go back and change a fucking thing, because for me, the better than I can imagine part is right here, right now. I celebrated my 200 podcast episode last week. 4 years of recording this podcast, week in and week out, last week. The Neurospicy Sisterhood Mastermind has been rocking for over 2 years. These are all massive milestones. Why? Even though I was diagnosed with ADHD while running this business, I never gave up on me. And I knew, because I'm resilient, that the best pivot for me was to do what I was doing, but work directly with female founders like myself. And the minute I started pivoting, I was going the right way, 1,000,000%. So if you're newly diagnosed, you're going to love it here. Stick around. You clearly know you can do what you put your mind to. I mean, the proof is that you started your business and you pulled it out of your brain and you went, okay, and you made it real. Like, that alone is a big deal. That doesn't mean you don't need support. That doesn't mean you need to keep being hyper independent. You need support from other women who are like you, women like myself. And I am not just a business coach and strategist. I am also a life coach. And I weave that in for the mindset part to help you with the self trust, to realize it's never been imposter syndrome. You've had trouble trusting yourself, and closing that gap in your self trust helps your business in ways that you can't see yet. But I've seen it over and over again, and I know what can come. You aren't alone. You may feel that way sometimes, but I pinky promise that is not the case. You are surrounded by women like you, especially as business owners. Find your people, hold them close. And before I wrap, I want to give you 3 things you can do today to feel a little less alone with where you are right now, to feel like you have resources. One of the things, I swear, I was diagnosed and they're like, okay, here you go, bye. And I mean, I knew I was getting medication. That was fine. But basically that was it. They're like, here's your meds prescription, bye. And I was like, well, isn't there an instruction manual? Like one of those little black and yellow books that's like ADHD for dummies. Like not we are dummies, but you know, and there wasn't. So I created one. So here's a few things that I'm going to aim you towards so that you can have a great starting point to really, really, truly get an understanding. Number 1, go to attitudemag.com, and that's ADDITUDE mag.com. That is one of the best, most vetted resources out there. And you can type in women and ADHD, and you're going to see all kinds of articles, latest research, bookmark it, go down the rabbit hole. It helps. Number 2, go watch the documentary, The Disruptors. You can find it at upsideofadhd.org. I believe it's upside, not plural. If that's wrong, make it plural. It is a great watch. And if you want to understand what's going on in that beautiful brain of yours, and you will see yourself in it, and you will see what happens as people understand this is part of who they are and they work with it. Number 3 is my favorite. Go to my DMs on Instagram at Karrie Out Loud and send me the word resources. I will send you a list that I give to every woman who's newly diagnosed or on that road. Like this is my personal list of resources that I've had together for probably 2 years that I've given to so many. And I was like, why don't I make this something I give to anyone who wants it? So that's what I ended up doing. So if you go and send me the word resources, you will get a list of all of the resources I wish I had had when I was newly diagnosed. So you can start working with your brain instead of against it. The list is free. It's all yours. Do 1, do 2, do all 3, whatever feels good to you right now, but do something. And understand that if you can put one foot in front of the other each day, do the basics. As they say, chop wood, carry water, right? Do the basic day in and day out things that you can do while you are walking through this part. Again, you may be putting your pedal to the metal and be like, yeah, baby, now that I know this, I'm on fire. You know, that is beautiful. For some, that takes time. For others, it's very quick. For me, it took about 4 months and some therapy. That was my personal road. And I'm happy to share any of that with you. I am an open book when it comes to my diagnosis. So feel free to ask me anything. And with that, we will finish today's episode. This is the part where I double dog dare you to do one thing after this episode because we can't say no very easily to a double dog dare. So DM me on Instagram and tell me the number 1 thing you're feeling today that hit closest to home for you or where you saw yourself in this episode. Where did you see you? I read them all. I respond personally, and 1 DM can change a lot for you. So go send it. I got you. Until next time, I see you. And wherever you are in your diagnosis journey, however messy or confusing or hopeful it feels right now, all of it's valid. All of it. And I'm rooting for you always. Bye.